This is a breakdown of Diamond 3 Zerg versus Terran, trying to figure out why our versus Terran matchup is not good. Zerg versus Terran is the most mechanically involved of the matchups. It doesn't really have as much strategy, in my opinion. There isn't as much bamboozling compared to when you're facing Protoss, or even Zerg versus Zerg. There's a lot of crazy shenanigans, lots of cheeses to account for. But Zerg versus Terran just feels a lot more consistent. Some cute banter at the beginning here. We'll have no fun whatsoever. Love to see people enjoying StarCraft 2 and people forcing themselves to suffer through StarCraft 2. So we're just going to take this from the top, and I'm going to point out all the mistakes in the fundamentals of our nice Zerg hero. The Terran can do different stuff, but I think the most important thing for you to focus on is how to smooth out the issues with your own macro progression. So far, so good. We got our hatch first. Got our drone production going, taking a gas, taking a pool. One of the missed opportunities for a lot of players is they take their third base way too late against Terran because they're scared of things that don't exist. Fear of the unknown. We're getting some gases here. I don't really like the spawning pool placement, but this is a minor note. I would just put it here, so it's more kind of central to your territory. I call this the picnic basket in the windowsill routine, where if there were ever a grizzly bear or a pirate or anyone, and you have your lunch just sitting in the windowsill of an open window, they can just scoop it if they like drop some medevac submarines here. So this spawning pool is, it's not quite in the windowsill, but it's not super well defended. So this is a mistake of just Overlord Rally. You just send it here. Send it to the pedestal, and for maps that don't have a pedestal at the natural, send it past this point, and there's usually a safe spot back here. So this is probably mistake number one that we could just iron out, is we shouldn't be losing our first Overlord unless they make multiple Marines and they fly a building. That's the only time that Terran is allowed to kill our first Overlord. So this is a pretty major blunder that we should not be making. And then the other next big blunder that we have here, which is partly kind of due to this whole train wreck of the Overlord getting shot distracted us, so we forgot to pull off gas. Pull off gas exactly at 100. The extra 52 Vespene, this could have been mineral income for this amount of time, which meant that we might have close to enough for another queen. I like that you have your third base going though. That's good. I usually take mine at 27 supply. Creep tumor here, injecting the main. Okay, injecting both. Injecting one of them. Injecting... Okay, she's gone. Inject the main, creep the natural. Creep is probably the mechanic that is the most intimidating for Terran players to have to deal with. Whenever I was asking high GM Terran what they're intimidated by from a really good Zerg player, is the creep is just further forward than it's supposed to be. And it's unsettling for them. So just by virtue of getting your first creep tumor out really fast, the creep would have already been basically to here by now. And then you can be spreading it to here. And then it goes to here, and then to here, and it's halfway. So you can really intimidate a Terran by shoving creep. Zerg versus Terran, it's the wax on, wax off of injects, creep spread, and drone production. Just trying to have your queens working as quickly as possible. Have your larva as low idle larva as possible. So try to have 0 idle larva at any time. Make drones if you don't know what to make. Otherwise, you can make some lings. And then at this stage of the game, if we don't have a Roach Warren or a Baneling Nest by 4 minutes into the game, we die to every Hellbat build that exists. So just by virtue of getting in the habit of putting down a 4-minute Roach Warren, that's going to increase your win rate in the matchup by like maybe 3 to 4%. Because 3 to 4% of the time, the Terran goes for a Hellbat build, and if we don't have a Roach Warren at 4 minutes, we're fucked, and the game is over. So that's a really important just housekeeping thing. Keep you safe. Roaches are really sturdy units. Injects are pretty good. Creep is going somewhere. We should be getting a lair by now. Okay. Getting some spores and a roach warren. Roach warren's a bit late. These spores are a bit early. Little things like this mean you're picking up a few minerals here and a few minerals there just by optimizing this. Ling attacks at this time are never going to work. That's one of the fun things about Zerg right now is the defensive tools of both Terran and Protoss mean that we don't really have good ways to pressure with small numbers of Lings early. Because Terran probably has 2 bases, wall off, and a bunker. Yeah, you're not going to get anything done here. So we just bleed some Lings. What I would recommend is just put 1 Ling at each 3rd base location and then stay home. Because you can delay this base by at least a few seconds and know that it's going out. So your lair's cooking. Another timing to write down is 5-10, get a double Evo. If you fall behind in upgrades, then you're not going to be trading very efficiently. And then we're very supply blocked here. Opponent is going for a planetary at the 3rd base. So that's really good. Planetary at the 3rd base means the Terran's economy is going to be what's called poopy garbage. And whenever the Terran's economy is poopy garbage, it means their max out to 200 supply is going to take a long ass time. So this is really good for us. But a lot of Zergs will kind of be like a moth to the flame, and they'll just attack into this and lose all their shit. So the main issue that we have here is we're not droning properly. The Terrans should not have more workers than us. But we're getting there. We're droning up. Triple, oh no, double Evo chamber and a Hydra den. Okay. Getting roach speed. 4th base is cooking. Overall, you've got some decent infrastructure set up. The main issue is not droning the 3rd base. If I saw this planetary at the 3rd, I would say I can just go to 70. 70 workers. In fact, I would say just get to 70 workers in general. Try to challenge your Terran opponent to stop you from getting to 70 workers. Making 5 safety roaches is forgivable. You have some queens to defend. But then beyond that, it's just pedal to the metal of drone production. So we're against a Terran with a poop economy, and we're just choosing to have a poop economy, even though they have no way of punishing you. Because they've invested heavily in defense, and if you think about the triangle of RTS, it's aggression beats greed, greed beats defense, defense beats aggression. So they're clearly playing defense. So what we should be doing is playing greed, which means yeeting 16 drones to mine minerals at this base. We should have 70 to 80 workers and just start making way more money than the Terran, so we can hit 200 supply way faster. So this is really good. It's really good to have a replay like this where our opponent is soft with us, they're not doing anything to you, and we're just not macroing to punish them for this. You should have different gears of, you have your defensive gear of the Terran is playing aggressive Hellbat attacks into maybe aggressive bio or something like this, and you need to make defensive units and you need to defend. But what if the Terran sits at home like this? You need to be able to get to 70 to 80 workers so fast that the Terran feels bad for playing defensive, and then they complain about Zerg. So we're not capitalizing on the space that's being given to us. We have 82 workers now, but we could have had that multiple minutes ago. As a general benchmark, when I do a warm-up before I start laddering, I play against a very easy AI so they don't attack me. And generally I'm getting maxed by like 8 minutes to 8:30. So I would have 200 supply by this point. And that's just making roaches and lings and hydras usually. This game you have more bases than you have a hive, so it's okay to be a little bit after that. I have a mine here. But we're not putting any delays or pressure on their future expansions. And the habit that you want to get into there is just put 1 Ling at each expansion location. So 1 Ling here, you would see the Hellions driving out, which is an intention to expand. 1 Ling here, and you would have seen when this space was going out. And we should definitely be maxed. You can make roaches, you can make lings. Just trying to spend your money to get to really high supply as fast as possible. You have 8 queens. The high base count is good. That's pretty cool. But when they're playing turtle tank like this, you have to find ways to trade efficiently. And that can be difficult when they have all planetaries at their outer bases. What I like to do is just make 2 to 3 Vipers. Get full energy on your Vipers, and then have your Vipers on a separate hotkey, tell them to follow a Hydra. And then you can play Roach Hydra Viper. Just walk up to a position like this, do hold position with your ground army, then select the Viper group, and pull the tanks into it. And then once the tanks are away from the planetary, you can kill these pretty easily with Roach Hydra. Your upgrades are good. You're getting maxed faster than your opponent. But they're slowly creeping toward 200 supply. And if Mech Terran has 200 supply and Zerg has 200 supply, Mech Terran generally has the stronger army. So what I like to do when I'm thinking about Zerg versus Terran is, as soon as I get Hive Tech, I want to start taking trades. I want to try to chip away at their supply and keep it as far from 200 as I can, while I continue to remax and keep my supply at 200. Your injects are pretty good. I like it. Your creep is pretty good. Your drone count is pretty good. It took a while to get there. Your queen count is relatively high. If you have 10, that's a lot of supply that could have been some more Roach Hydra. So your main army is going to be relatively weaker because these queens usually aren't going to help with fights over here. And you're letting the Terran get to their max out mostly uncontested. If you want to know a tactic that's really good for applying pressure to a Turtle Terran like this, just sending an Overseer up here to Nidus their main, that can be good. That's a little bit more advanced. I think getting Roach Hydra Viper is really good. Lurkers, weirdly enough, kind of suck ass against mech, just because tanks outrange them. And they do the same thing as tanks. So if Terran is sitting at home and you're trying to send lurkers at them, it's hard to deal damage. I think Viper is the better unit for dismantling them. Fights like this, when the tanks are sieged, you take a bad trade. When they're unsieged, you take a good trade. Hey, you have Vipers. What a god. Throw those. Abduct the Thors. Blind the tanks. Nice. Hey, that's pretty good. We make units through the fight. Cool. Now go forward and attack. Delay some bases. Get some more Viper energy. You could put lurkers at some of the outer bases too. Great, you're way ahead in supply. Go kill them. Okay, now this is one of the fatal flaws of Zerg. When you're trying to kill the Terran in the late game and you feel like, hey, I killed a bunch of their army, do not attack face-checking their planetary. Go to their natural. Look at the natural. Look at this nice, open fucking golf course of an area. It's got orbital commands. It's got a concession stand. It's got an empty bunker. It's got a different, like, support desk. This is just such a great area to set up and do whatever the fuck you want. But if you go here, it's the most horrid place you could possibly take a fight. This is the #1 worst place that you could take a fight. This is probably the second worst. And this is probably the third worst. And this is the best. So for any given match, there's going to be a similar setup here of the Terran is not going to equally defend all of their locations. And the throat of the Terran, where they actually die, is here. If you get your army here, the game is over. If you put your army here, they could lose this base. They've got enough money to remake bases. It's just a base, right? They could pull the workers away. They could expand somewhere else. They could make more command centers and fly them out later. But if you get on top of their factories, that's when they're dead. So smart of you to pull back. But they took a really bad trade here. You did a great job with the Vipers. So if you just get your butt to the natural and then start abducting and blinding their tanks and just hold this area, that's when they die. And then just putting one Overlord or one Zergling out here is a good way to know when they expand. So you slowly starve them out and take trades. That's kind of the The essence of beating Turtle Terran is you delay their expansions as much as you can, and then you try to take chip damage fights. Where you don't necessarily just completely destroy them in one go. You kill more stuff than they kill of yours. This is so funny how they're like fully committed in one blob. Oh, get him. I would just blind that and go. Blinding cloud that and go, dude. Well, this is something. Use hold position more. Just hold position your stuff and then you don't have to micro the Roach Hydra. Then all the micro just goes to the Vipers. Hold position right here. No. As I mentioned, the very worst place on the entire map we could take a fight. But here, or even just busting through here and hitting here, that's really good. Think about this too. Mech players, and this isn't a diss, mech players usually are slower at their army movements than bio players because the units are slower, right? So if they have all of their shit on the right side of the map, and you just took a fight on the right side of the map, then what if you used your fast Zerg ass to sprint to the left side of the map? That would take these guys a long time to get over there, right? This is a hilarious imbalance in their army value positioning. These units are all rooted in place until they unsiege them in the far right corner. So if you attacked here, you win the video game. If you attack here, you win the video game. If you attack here, you kill this base and get ahead. So you have a few good options, and then you have a very worst option. And this is the bad option. So we don't trade with this. We don't trade with this, we laugh at them for being way over here. It's a good lesson. Fight where the opponent is not. If the opponent has a slow army, punish them by attacking far from where you attacked last time. The left, right, left, right, left. Double Nidus Worm in the late game? Yep. Nidus would also destroy this player. They're going for a mass BC switch, which is crazy strong, but very expensive. And we did have a window to punish them for making this many starports. But the window is closing now. They're going to have the BCs out. Let's see what their air upgrades are. Are they fully upgraded? This player actually did a good job of upgrading. So for a Diamond 3 game, this player played pretty well. Unfortunately, Lings don't do anything to planetaries. It's good to know, though. Having a safety spire against mech is good. For two reasons. One reason is if they go for this like crazy BC stuff, then you can play Corruptors against it. The other reason is if they way overcommit to tanks, then you can do a Muta switch. In this case, you would not want to do a Muta switch because BCs own Mutas. But if they did have just more and more tanks, there are some GM Terrans who will even just play mass tank. Then doing a big Muta switch of like 20 to 30 Mutas in the late game is very strong. So I would say probably after you get your 3-3 going. Hey, you got a Spire. Good job. Good job. Yeah, we're kind of stuck in the mindset of attacking their newest base. When really we should just be really trying to threaten the natural of the Terran, because that's when you win. Hitting these outer bases, you delay the game. Hitting the natural and getting to the production, that's when you win. So this abduct is not working because the way the abduct mechanic works is you have to pull the unit to another space of valid ground, and the abduct would try to pull it here, which doesn't work. You can't pull it into the abyss. I don't know why. That would be really cool to be able to pull a unit off of a cliff, and you should be able to do so, but for whatever reason they decided that's not a mechanic. So if the Thor would have been pulled off of valid ground, then the abduct just doesn't fire. So that's a little mechanical knowledge for you. Another example would be here. If you had a Viper right here, and you try to pull a tank, if it would have landed on the rocks, then the abductor won't work. You have to make sure you're pulling it to valid ground. Okay. Yeah, but this is the dead last worst place to fight. Hit him with the left, right, left, right, left, right, left. Think about it that way. If you punch with the left, and they block, then they expect the left again. So then punch far to the right. Hydras are fast, especially with the lunge upgrade. So just kind of hit the lunge upgrade on cooldown like it's a speed boost for you. Because it is. Man, they are just memeing on this. As soon as they port across the map, you're going to lose. Hydras don't really trade that well against species. Gustbus throws another 10. What a G. Thank you, bro. That's fire. Breaking rocks like this is really good too, because then you can set up lurkers here and then have your hydras kill these bases with the lurker backup. Big hypo. Why are they not using the BCs? Okay, now they are. This is so funny. Three BCs. Oh my god. Yeah, you can make all corruptors. Production all corruptors. Oh, they killed the Spire! No! Oh no. Well, Hydras. Another 5. Have a good night. I will have a good night. Thanks to you, man. Thank you. Sheesh. Yeah. So now we're getting memed on with the BCs, but the main... If we're kind of boiling this down to the fundamentals of why we lost this game and why I could see you losing similar situations against defensive Terrans, you need to rush 70 to 80 workers so fast that you feel like it's a little bit risky. You need to take risks to get ahead. If you play very overly defensive and safe, then you fall behind. So in the cases where the Terran is playing defensive, try to get 80 workers really fast. Get 200 supply as fast as you can. Some mixture of Roach Hydra if you're against Mech. Lingbane Hydra if you're against Bio or something. And then once you get Hive, you want to keep taking trades. And the essence of taking good trades is you have fully upgraded units, and then you hit where the Terran doesn't want you to fight. And you avoid where they want you to fight. So this fight over here on the right-hand side that you took with the Blinding Clouds, as soon as you won that fight, you made units through the fight. That was perfect. Perfect. Exactly what you want to do. But then you gave the Terran time by attacking the dead last worst spot of the map. So what you should have done was take this big trade over here and then haul your ass up to here and end the video game. Because if the Terran loses like 80 supply of army and Zerg remaxes, you can just get to this natural and then the game is over. Don't headbutt into missile turret mass tank planetary. That's what they want you to fight. Okay? You want to take the trade in the midfield where the Terran messes up and then rush for the throat. This is the jugular. This is how heckin' lions kill antelope. They don't bite the antelope. Actually, they could just kill an antelope anyway. A bad example. But you want to go for the throat. And the throat of the Terran is in their main. It's here. And you can always make a backup Spire too. The getting memed on with the BCs is an unfortunate consequence later on, but the main essence is hit left, right, left, right, left, right, left. Fantastic. Thank you for submitting this replay. Hope that helped you. Cheers.